Boys, we are back. It is week 10. This is the Best Ball Portfolio Show with Davis and Liam. We're going to take a look after more than half of the regular season is now over. The Best Ball playoffs begin in 5 weeks. Unbelievable how soon the Best Ball fantasy football playoffs are going to start. We're going to take a look at what worked, what mattered, what has not mattered. Don't go anywhere. We'll be hanging out for the next couple hours. It's Short King summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King summer. Yeah, my mic is probably very loud.
Yeah, something like 2 months or two shows ago, your mic was quiet, and now I caught some of your other show, and you're just now very, very loud compared to other mics.
I need I turned it down a little bit in StreamYard. Maybe that'll help. I also have a bunch of fans going in my my basement right now because my basement flooded yesterday. I woke up yesterday to some standing water down here in my fake office. So we got a bunch of fans going. We are I thought my season was over. Liam, I saw Mahomes limp off the sideline. He's so
dramatic, bro.
He's so dramatic.
Every primetime slate, he's like, you know what? I got to get the people talking. I got to really struggle to beat Tampa's terrible defense. Like, how are they not dropping 40 on Tampa's deep, man? And
because Xavier Worthy doesn't know how to keep his feet in bounds.
Well, it's not his fault. He wears a size 12 shoe. And then,
no, that was such poor spatial awareness by him on a walk-in touchdown. That was really, I mean, that's just such a metaphor for my best ball season. He's wide open. The play works perfectly, and he Jonathan Mingo did basically. Remember that play where Mingo caught the ball and jumped out of bounds? I mean, that was basically what Xavier Worthy just did.
Yeah,
just
we got some things to talk about today. Topics. Jonathan Mingo getting traded for a fourth is like the most damning thing I could think of for the Cowboys organization. Like 2 years ago, I was like, back when Brady was in the playoffs, I was like, yeah, Dallas is going to beat the Bucks. Like, they're semi-legit. Like, they could be in the Super Bowl. I don't know how they got here, man. This is real bad stuff. Dak going on IR.
I can tell you how the Cowboys got here. One, they're incredibly banged up on defense. They were basically supposed to be.
This was their own. Like, they were terrible at stopping the run, and they signed like Jordan Phillips, who is like one of the worst run stopping D tackles. They released him. Like, this was just never. This was terrible.
It was. So the Mingo trade, it's so funny how basically people will say, oh, salary cap doesn't matter, salary cap's fake, and then Deontay Johnson gets traded for like a 15 pick swap. DeAndre Hopkins was a fifth, I want to say. Fourth? No, fifth.
Conditional something,
very little for DeAndre Hopkins. Mike Williams gets traded for nothing. Like, basically,
I think that's actually, it's like, okay, so you can buy a 5th round pick basically for $10 million is what is going on. I mean, it's a little bit complicated where teams can get comp picks, and so
right.
if you trade a guy, you like what's really good about the Ravens trade for Deontay Johnson is they're going to get a comp pick for him, assuming they're net losers in the free agent formula, which is a very convoluted thing anyways. But yeah, Mike Williams, like that actually, he might be fantasy relevant with Russ, right? Like I could see that, he's got to beat out Van Jefferson and Calvin.
I think he'll be what he is he's fantasy relevant in a world where George Pickens gets injured. If George Pickens suffers an injury, then sure, he can be fantasy relevant. But how down bad would you have to be to start Mike Williams in a format where you can start 4 wide receivers? You'd have to be pretty down bad.
No, you're not. He's not. I mean, he's kind of like, you hope he could be like Christian Watson, where you could be like, yeah, I could see a spike occurring. Where, but you're like, could be one of the other guys, could be whatever.
So the thing about Mingo is I like it conceptually, right? The idea of trading for like a wide receiver who was a high draft pick, was immediately put into this awful context, never had a good coordinator, never had good quarterback play. But I mean, dude, the production for Mingo, so brutal. He only broke out his final year when he was already 21, never had 1,000 yards, never had more than 5 touchdowns, actually got outproduced by Malik Heath, the wide receiver 6 on the Green Bay Packers, his final season at Ole Miss. He did run a 4.4, I guess a 4.46 at 220, but Sims on him. Let's see here. What pick was he? 39. Let's see. Can we find
Yeah, he
anyone?
was a high second
Career
round
round.
pick, like I get it. It is like major sunk cost, like fallacy where it's like, hey, I'm buying this second round pick who,
So,
like just objectively, he's worse than Jalen Coker,
way worse. I'm trying to find anyone on his comp list who started out shitty and then turned it around. I don't
Well,
really remember
like,
Muhammad
yeah, like
Massaquoi, to be honest.
Alec Pierce is an example where is it possible Mingo can turn into a guy who is semi-fantasy relevant? Of course that's possible. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense for the Cowboys to be buyers at the trade deadline regardless. They drafted Dak Prescott with a 4th round pick. People pretending 4th round picks don't matter.
How
Pretty
good, how much
delusional.
better would they be with Braylon Allen on their roster instead of Trey Lance? Like I kind of like
They couldn't have beat out a 7th round pick for Khalil Herbert. There was a lot of things that just doesn't make any sense with the Cowboys. It's over. Like the Dak era, I think, is over. I don't think they're facing
is there an out in his contract?
Well, they they have Dak and whatnot, but what's it going to take for the Cowboys to turn it around? They got to get a lot more guys on the D line.
Yeah, no, the Dak era is very much not over. There's not an out in this contract until he's. He's only
it's not over
31 years old.
There, but do you see them being competitive in the NFC as like a legit Super Bowl contender in the next 3 years?
The thing that is so tempting is that they already have the hardest thing solved. They've got the quarterback and they've got a great elite wide receiver under contract for
and Micah
4 years.
Parsons. They have an elite pass rusher too.
So it's like, yeah, like this, I think, basically my YouTube chat was saying this all offseason and they were right. Like, oh, this is the disaster season for the Cowboys. They don't have any talent. So they don't have any talent, but like, okay, replace Brandon, like Jalen Tolbert can be the wide receiver 2. They draft a wide receiver in round 1 next year. They draft one of these. This rookie running back class, Liam, is crazy. There's going to be like, there might
That's
be
definitely what they're missing. It's definitely the running back that's going to turn it all around.
Well, so like, there's always this argument of like, oh, running backs don't matter. Anyone can do it. It's more on the offensive line. And like, to a degree, that's true. But over half of their backfield attempts this year have gone to a fullback, Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, and Deuce Vaughn.
And some of this is coaching, right? Like if they just ran
a lot of this is coaching.
They would.
A lot of it's coaching,
better.
and McCarthy will be fired, so that will be a huge improvement. McCarthy will be let go.
Yeah,
Brian Schottenheimer, probably not in season. McCarthy probably won't get fired in season. Well, I don't know, man.
But Jerry's going to be there. Is like, and that's an issue. I think. Like I used to be like whatever, but I do think.
But Jerry, yes, he's awful, and ownership is a big competitive advantage in the NFL. We've seen that time and time again. But like also, Jerry can just like get lucky. Like, what if Jerry gets lucky and she's like, oh, Ben Johnson decides he wants to come here?
Here's where I'll agree with you. Well, I highly doubtful. Here's where I'll agree with you. Like, if the Cowboys hit, another wide receiver that's like solid, like let's say Jordan Addison level, besides CeeDee Lamb, You know, they
There's
hit some
plenty of those
alignment.
guys.
Like they could be in the mix, but the bigger issue is there are other teams in the NFC that are coming that are just far better primed for the future. Look no further than the Commanders. You know, the Bears probably.
The Commanders are a problem. I don't know about the Bears. I
Well,
mean, the
but
Bears.
you know, is it going to be shocking if the Bears, who have a ton of cap space, a ton of draft picks, a young court, like they just get better and better as Caleb gets better? No, that's not going to be shocking. You got teams like the
Man,
Lions who are going to be
that
perennially good. The
that by the
Packers,
way,
you know,
what a sliding glass door we're gonna look back on. I wonder if Caleb is already kind of in this format of quarterback where his career almost got ruined because of poor organizational decision making of keeping Everflus and hiring this loser offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. Like, imagine if they hire Ben Johnson and Ben Johnson brings his Lions. Like, they're like, okay, Ben Johnson, we're going to give you $14 million.
I, I think the Bears are like, okay, so they have a solid defense. They have
Very solid defense.
two really good wide receivers. I think Keenan's pretty washed. What they don't have is the O line. So next year, it's a pretty simple plan: draft O line, sign O line, and I think Caleb's going to look a lot better with that, just being year 2 as well. You know, like I'm not that worried about Caleb long term. I think they're going to fire their coaches. That's going to be better too. Yeah, I think Ben Johnson. You know, like I just don't think Ben Johnson's going to choose a guy in the division just out of like respect for um Dan Campbell, but you know, I think he should.
Well, there was that report last week that he said he wanted the Bears, right? Wasn't
Well,
wasn't
hey
that
there.
wasn't that quote floating around? I mean, maybe I just fell for like bait on Twitter and it's not true. This is a problem. The Bears are cheap when it comes to coaches historically. I don't know, man. I feel like if you yes, yeah, I saw this as well. Ben Johnson reportedly wanted the Bears job if it had opened last cycle. And Ben Johnson, by the way, should be one of those guys who's like, I'm not going OC to OC. Like Kellen Moore went OC to OC, got interviewed
No,
for head coaching jobs.
he didn't. He rejected head coaching opportunities. He could have been a head coach this year, but decided not to because he wanted to find a better spot. So you know, like what spots are going to be open next year? The Jags. So if someone wants to convince themselves on Trevor, that's appealing. I could see the Patriots opening. It's not going to be surprising if Mayo's a one and done, and I think that might be really appealing, depending what the owner says. With May looking good. The Raiders is going to be open. I think he's one and done. That one does not seem appealing to me.
The Raiders. So the Raiders, I guess, where are they at in Tankathon right now? How likely is it that they
Well, this
get
is the issue.
a
There's
top
like
pick?
there's 7 teams that are 2-7, and it's going to be a major gut blow to
Dude,
be the
this
7th
is
pick instead of the first pick.
wow. Yeah. So basically,
There's 9 teams with 2 wins.
man, like New Orleans should shut it down right now. New Orleans should be like, anyone who's any good at all, go home. Derek Carr, go home. We're playing Jay Kaner. Honestly, Alvin Kamara should not play. Any good defensive player.
The disconnect to sign him to an extension and then fire your head coach 2 weeks later is absurd.
Yeah. So, you know, the Saints trading Lattimore was like an indication that they're ready for pain. Yeah, this is wrong. NFL teams do tank. Players do not tank. That's why you can't have them available. An NFL player cannot tank because if you're playing football at half speed, you are going to get injured, and like you're going to put
you can't put out bad tape. Yeah, you
cannot put out bad tape. But NFL teams organizationally do tank, and I
look
mean,
no further than the Patriots not starting May. You know, like that is some form of not trying to win games.
well, no, I actually think they probably because it's hard.
No,
to say.
it's not, hey, let's play Brissett because it's better. It's let's play Brissett because we don't want May to get injured. So it is prioritizing the long term versus trying to win immediately, which is logical, right?
No, that's true. Although if you look at the AFC playoff standings, I mean that probably is going to end up being a mistake because
they could have been in the mix. Yes.
Well, I was going to say, like, so look at the AFC wild card right now. After the Ravens,
pull up the playoff standings because I want to talk about that. Like, I still think the Bengals get there. I think the Broncos showed us that they are a year at least away. You know, like they got like it's just tough to win on good defense, very mid offense. You know,
Yeah.
like
By the
Broncos.
way, legal sports betting passed in Missouri
Dude, we
last
couldn't
night.
get legal weed to pass in Florida. You know, like
Yeah,
rough.
but because in Florida it requires a 60% majority, right?
Yeah, most things like that do require 60%.
All right, I'm boomering it here a little bit, but I will find the playoff odds. But basically, if you
Or
look
just
at
pull up the standings. We don't even need the odds. We could
here
just
we
look at
go. I got it. To make the playoffs right now,
this is a bad layout. Like I think you should just pull up something that shows like each team's record, and then we can just talk through it.
Patriots
No, the
50 to
Patriots are
1
a
to make
bad
the
bet to make the
playoffs.
playoffs. It's either going to be like the Chargers. I'm viewing as like an essential lock with if Herbert doesn't get hurt. I view, and then it's a race between the Broncos, the Bengals, and can you scroll down? And like the Colts. And so it's like the Bengals got to beat out they have to win tonight. And those are the only teams that can even make it in the AFC, you know?
That's true. I wonder, but like, dude, the Patriots could have made it. You're telling me the Patriots couldn't have 5 wins right now if Drake May was the quarterback? I feel, I don't know. I mean, well, this is a good question. Do you think the Dolphins are like? Do you think they think they're drawing live? That's a pretty good question. I mean, that's really going to
No, I
impact
think
fantasy
that loss
football.
to like they need to literally go 8-1. You know, like I think that loss to the Bills crushed them. They would have viewed themselves like I think they're good, like they're better than the Broncos to me as far as like going far in the playoffs, but they're too buried, you know? And really the reality for Miami is last year was their year. They went semi all in. Like they paid guys. This year they lost a lot of guys. They're just a worse team than they were last year.
They are, yeah. I mean, remember Odell Beckham Jr.?
Hey man, he caught like 3 passes against the Bills. Because yeah, it's like it's the Bengals, it's the Colts, and it's like, come on, man. Like I personally, you know, as far as like the Bills making the Super Bowl, I don't want the Bengals to make it. But as far as like a fan of good football, I want the Bengals to make it. And I think if the Chargers and the Bengals make it, like you don't really want to face either of those teams if you're not the 1 seed. Those teams can beat you. Those teams can beat the Ravens.
This is actually a good question. Will the Jets make the playoffs? The Jets are now up to 3-6, so they are only behind the Chargers, Broncos, Ravens, Bengals, and Colts.
I would say no. Like I think it's hard because they got to leapfrog. They got to leapfrog the Bengals. You know, like forget about
and the Bengals are better. Yeah,
forget about leapfrogging. You know, the Broncos, which I think the Broncos will take care of themselves somewhat. Like they're going to lose some winnable games, but
right.
They do have a good recipe for beating bad teams, right? Like good defense, can't like quarterback runs to move the chains. You can win a lot of games like that, but you know, like we need the Chargers to beat the Broncos, the Chiefs to beat the Broncos this week.
I don't know if it's a Bengals must win tomorrow, but it's pretty like
effing close.
It's pretty close. Yeah,
pretty close. So yeah, I mean, I think the Jets are better. You know, as far as like, could they upset a good team in the playoffs versus the Broncos? But
this is also true. The Steelers choking a 6-2 record, very in the range of outcomes because there's a very bad team.
I'd be for that, but like they are also a team built to beat the teams that they like should beat. You know, like they're gonna get destroyed in the playoffs, but I think they've just built too big of a lead. Like it could happen, but and I'm not looking at every team's schedule, but let's look at the NFC standings because I think that one's pretty interesting too, where there's a lot of there's a lot of like
the
parity.
The NFC is the really interesting NFC is what ends up happening in the NFC West. I bet on the Cardinals to win the division at 9-1. No, I mean I think that will probably end up not winning because the 49ers have been very unlucky to be 4-4. And honestly, like They actually might be the worst team in the division. Weirdly, they're first place, but they might actually be the worst team in that division. But it's just fascinating because these teams are in such a rock fight every time they like every NFC West game is such a rock fight.
Yeah, and I think the North is pretty interesting too, where okay, so we're giving it to the Commanders, the Eagles, the Lions, Vikings, and Packers, and that leaves the
That leaves no
Falcons
one.
and just one from the West, right?
No. If you give it to the Lions, Vikings, and Packers and the Eagles, then that leaves no one.
Well, so there has to be two division winners, right? So yeah, is
So
someone from the North not going to make it?
it would have to be. Yeah, I guess it would be the Packers maybe not making it, but there'll only be one team from the NFC South.
That'd be a shame. That'd be a
There'll
big
only
shame for the
there'll only be
playoffs.
one team from the NFC West. I guess it could be theoretically. I suppose you could see one of the Eagles or Commanders falling off. I don't know. Like, I mean,
Well,
the
no,
Commanders.
you can make it with so the 4 division winners plus the Eagles is 5, plus the Vikings and Packers is 7. So you, all those teams can make it, and that just leaves only one team from the West. There is only one team from the South. You don't even need to look at it. It's just like the Falcons are going to make it. And so, yeah, it leaves the Bears on the outs and small chance that like the Eagles collapse, Packers collapse, Vikings collapse, but probably not, you know?
The collapses in the NFC seem very hard to imagine. Like, how do well, I guess the Vikings could, Darnold could turn into a pumpkin. Brian Flores' defense gets figured out a little bit. It's kind of breaking in such a way in the NFC though that all of our relevant teams are not going to be giving up. I guess if you Alvin Kamara, that's an interesting one. So Alvin Kamara's let's check Alvin Kamara's advance
By
rate.
the way, guys, I couldn't get into BBMDB this morning, so I couldn't pull the
Oh,
advanced rate threads to talk
look at
through.
look at that. I shouldn't have
Yeah,
I shouldn't have refreshed.
BBMDB not doing so hot. By the way, my advance rates are at 50% this week. Um,
My advance rates would have been a little bit nicer with
what I did want to tell people is I think something cool to track is just how accurate the expected advance rate is. So everyone at home, once you can get into BBMDB, just jot down your expected advance rate each week, because I can just speak for myself. Mine went from advancing 18 to an expected of 18.3 last week to again advancing 18 this week to an expected of 19.3. So, swinging by one team, pretty normal. But I'm sure there are some people who's like expect to advance 25, and then one week it's 20, and then one week it's 30, because again, the way that they're trying to predict it, like, you can't exactly predict or project Chase Brown to score 30 in a week, right? Like this is not going to be his projection. So,
well, weirdly, Chase Brown scoring 30 didn't even really do too much for my advance rate. I guess because it's such a thing where you're like, oh, I've got like Mahomes having his best game of the season and Chase Brown having his best game of the season. You'd think like, oh, smash. It's like my advance rates are going way up. But that is not the case because
well, you
they're
need
on a
that
lot
to
of bad
occur.
teams. They're on a lot
Well,
of bad teams is the thing.
well, and the other thing is you need that to correlate with bad weeks from Henry and or Saquon. Like
Right.
the big ones that are advancing right now that are going to drop back is like the Chris Godwin teams. Now it's going to be somewhat okay because it correlates with Baker, who continues to smash week in and week out, and I'm sure Kate Otten, who is looking like a very strong pick.
Oh yeah, Kate Otten's got to be a super high advance rate pick.
Yes, but like the Chris Godwin teams, like they're out advancing Brian Thomas Jr. teams, which just probably will not hold simply because Brian Thomas Jr. is playing football and Godwin is not. Let's talk about some of the other trades. Khalil Herbert to the Bengals. My take is I do think Chase Brown will be like semi-used like he was in college, aka a huge, huge workload for the short term. And then long term, like like people are like, oh, Khalil Herbert's this big. He's the same size as Chase Brown. So it's not like he's like Derrick Henry out there. I think he'll get, 8 rushing attempts a game. If he's a better pass blocker, maybe he will play third downs, but not immediately. Zach Moss almost certainly done for the year is my intuition there with the neck.
Yeah, they already said he's not going to come back in the regular season.
Yeah. So he's like a drop and managed, and I'm averaging like one 2x exposure guy out for the season a week right now. Moss wasn't going to be a good pick anyways. I did pretty much just split the Moss and Chase Brown bags. But is what it is.
Yeah, I really wish obviously now I wish that I would not have done that. I wish that I would have just stuck with what I was doing the entire time. I mean, Chase Brown is still, I believe, my third most drafted player, which again, this year doesn't really mean anything. This is such a season where points have been so low across the board that getting the here I pulled the tweet up. This is really all that matters in fantasy this year. The advance rate of rosters that does not have Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Darnell Mooney is half of what just like a mean expectation advance rate would be. Only 43,000 teams are advancing without Henry, Barkley, Kamara, or Mooney, which is
it's a fun dynamic, right? Because obviously you want these guys to advance,
it's not that fun.
Well, it is a fun because in some ways, right? Yeah, I hear you, but it is fun in the sense that your playoff teams that don't have these guys are very well suited to win the contest in many ways because, like, okay, a Derrick Henry team with like a wide receiver, like let's say a Saquon Derrick Henry team that has a wide receiver crew of like Quentin Johnston, Jalen Tolbert, like whatever.
Yeah, Quentin Johnston, a huge advance rate guy, which is
but it's like
funny.
Okay, they've ran extremely pure to get wide receiver production at all right now, but I really don't like the chances of the weak wide receiver teams with these guys to piece it together in the playoffs for 3 weeks straight. Where it's, like QJ was uncovered on a touchdown, right? Like that's just not going to happen week in, week out.
He leads fantasy football in I can pull it up on fantasy points data, but basically the percentage of points that he has generated on busted coverages, which is obviously
DJ Chark could return in which he will next week, and he might not even be on the field. Like who knows how it goes? I think he will. Like he's played well, obviously, but it's in the range.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing left to cope for myself basically is that, you just have to hope that Henry and Barkley have bad games in week 15. Like that's really it. Like if you just tell me right now, Barkley and Henry each score like 12 points in week 15, then there's hope. If you tell them, I don't even know who they play in week 15, but if those guys get 25 in week 15, like, yeah, it's over because you'll just truly would have had to have had them this year to advance any teams.
Well, there's going to be a lot of them in your playoff pod. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and maybe I don't know. That's the fun part of the, for whatever reason, this is not really predictive, but the advance rate kings in the regular season have not really made their marks in the playoffs year after year, where it's like Raheem Mostert, he was okay. Josh Jacobs, he was just okay. The only Cooper Kupp did somewhat. He was 50% represented in the finals the year I won. Mark Andrews was over 50% represented, had more to do with his playoff performances than his regular season production. But yeah, I mean, you wipe the scores to zero. I don't know, these Puka teams, Bijan teams are coming on real strong here. I got some fun teams that I'm just excited for the playoffs to get here.
I mean, CMC coming back is going to be a huge wrinkle because CMC is basically not that could be one of the biggest wrinkles in best ball of the entire year. If CMC comes back and he's smashing immediately, like in terms of like things that are, we're 9 weeks in, what could be some of the things that really fuck with advance rates? Obviously, it would be Barkley and Henry getting injured or playing poorly, or it would be McCaffrey coming in and absolutely smashing. Yeah, this is basically the exact wrong way to analyze fantasy football. Most CMC lineups are so far behind it won't matter. It's definitely not true. I mean, I looked yesterday before BBMDB went down, and I have 2 CMC teams that are close within 20 points.
I do think CMC teams are going to struggle to be, like a good advance rate from CMC at this point is maybe 9%. If he just comes,
but that would be literally tripling the
no, I
advance rate of
understand,
CMC
but
teams right now.
I just don't. It's far from a lock that we're going to get CMC usage from last year, right? Where not only has Jordan Mason seemed fine, but Isaac Guerrero, like I think Isaac Guerrero could just be Jordan Mason off the field. He's looked good. And the 49ers literally did this to themselves by playing CMC in garbage time many times last year when it was not necessary at all. Like when they're up like 20 points in the fourth quarter, they're trying to get CMC another touchdown. That would be insane for them to do again after he was, for him to be so injured. So I do think we'll
but
get
it might
some
be
games.
what it might be is it might just be one of those things where it's not even them consciously doing it, but it's actually they're 4-4 right now. Brandon
They need
Ayuk
to
is
make the
out.
playoffs. I hear you.
George Kittle is 31 years old. Like, and we actually have seen this plenty of times in the NFL where a running back who either comes off the couch or comes back midseason from it, they're fresh. CMC has not been tackled in 18 months. Sure, maybe his Achilles will flare up immediately and it'll just be an all-time lost season, but this is exactly what I think. I think it's very similar to the Kyren Williams thing. Kyle Shanahan will not be able to help himself once
I
CMC
agree,
hits the field.
except for when they're it's just not even debatable. There were many times where the 49ers were up literally 2 touchdowns or more with like 7 minutes left in the game that CMC was icing it away and would like score another touchdown. That I think doesn't happen where, CMC may get his 20, his 25, but as far as like icing the game with another garbage time touchdown a la Mike Gesicki last week, right? Like, I don't think we're going to get that as much.
Correct.
Which, that's like, that's a difference between a 25 and a 40-point game or whatever. For
how many
CMC.
points behind for a team to be officially dead? I think like right now, like 60 or 70.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're 5 weeks out. I still think you can make up 100, but that team the team in first needs to have some injured guys. And you need if you put together like 3 150-point weeks in a row, you are going to be closing if your team is coming on strong. And
who are the teams left to have bye weeks? So the Ravens. So dude, something that's so fascinating. Ravens and Commanders in week 14. So some of the biggest advance rate teams. Well, the Texans are going to have a really low advance. Texans are going to be like the advance rate.
We're getting Nico back. He's going to be like, just because they correlate with the Ravens pieces, like they correlate with Lamar too. So, and Tank Dell could be a semi-league winner down the stretch here.
I would be surprised by that if he was.
It's hard for any wide receiver to like be a consistent guy every single week, but I mean, he just had 120 yards. Yes, Nico's coming back, but it's like if Stephon Diggs did not exist going into the year, where would Tank Dell have gone in drafts?
Yeah, early. Yeah,
probably.
He would have went where the Waddle Olave guys were going. That's actually, I did really want to cover this topic with you. I did a video on Monday about this, but I ran I didn't run the numbers. I literally counted them one by one. Guess season-ending injuries from wide receivers drafted in the top 100 overall picks last season.
I did see a tweet of yours, but So I'll just guess a third.
No, just one. Mike Williams. That's it. Only season-ending injury. In
Oh, wait,
2023. In 2023.
last year? Yeah. No. So this is like a overcorrection based on what's occurred. And it's a good reminder, like, to vary your drafting style, because you can get out. Like, I would argue last year was an outlier in the reverse as far as how many running back injuries we got from the early guys, right? So it goes both ways. And it's just a reminder that, like, yes, zero RB can crush in a year like that. But there are also years where all the wide receivers get hurt. All of this year, last year, a bunch of quarterbacks got hurt. Like, chaos is going to happen. We can't predict how the chaos is going to go always. And so you should vary your style if you care about, if you care about spreading it out. I do think it's okay in a top heavy contest to be like, I don't care if I have a bad advance rate in a given year. I'm going to draft all my teams this way. It's either going to go really bad or really great. Like,
It's
that's
just,
another way to approach it.
yeah, it's just one of those things where, like, I don't care if I have a bad DFS slate or 4 bad DFS slates in a row,
No,
right?
yeah,
It
I
just
agree.
is what it is, right? You're not going to win. You're not going to win every week. It's mentally tougher and more annoying to have a bad best ball year, because you just have to sit there and look at those teams, and you spend so much time drafting them. You spend so much time thinking about them. Like, literally, it's just like you spend more time drafting 5 best ball mania teams than you do an entire week of DFS, even if, like, like, if you do $1,000 a weekend in DFS and maxing best ball mania is $3,750. Like, the time sink is why it's so annoying to have so many dead teams. Now, to the overarching question of, what are you going to do differently next year? Does that mean, like, I'm going to start drafting running backs who are past the age curve? I'm going to focus less on wide receiver points. I'm never going to draft an elite tight end again. I mean, obviously it's impossible to say without knowing the context of the rest of this year, the context of the draft and all that stuff. But I do feel the Henry thing is, like, very whatever. Like, that's just not 30-year-old running back, unlikely to be something that I ever really do.
Hey, Pete became a member of me. Or
Wow.
you. Thanks, Pete.
It's hard to say, but thank you, Peter. What a guy. It's hard to say, but, like, the Barkley thing, I do feel sort of silly about, and maybe I could recontextualize the thing that then has me going the other way. Wow, Peter does not want me to work. Peter does not want me to work at State Farm. Jesus Christ. Wow. What a
Pete
day.
giving back from the deposit kingdom.
Pete, well, look, I mean, when you generate as many shippers as Peter Overs at, then you could just sort of give 50 memberships away. Well, yeah, there you go. What a good friend. What a good friend. He is such a guy. Pete knows I'm down bad. Pete knows I'm down bad. What was I in what I was in the middle of saying was A-Chain is scoring more fantasy points per game than Saquon Barkley in games that Tua has been healthy. The reason why I don't have any Barkley is every time that Barkley was on the clock, so was A-Chain, and I took A-Chain. So do I feel bad about that? Does that make me feel stupid? To be honest, not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't had as many season-ending injuries to my portfolio as you, I think, and like I'm fine advancing 19 to 25 teams, which it seems like I'm going to do. Like, that's enough to have a sweat. I advanced 19 the year I won BBM2, and again, a lot of my teams don't have Saquon, Mixon, Derrick Henry. Some do. I have some Saquon, some Mixon, some Kamara, but I'm excited about those teams without those guys. Like Tank Dell, at 2% in the playoffs versus Derrick Henry at 50%. That sounds pretty fun. As far as like a 1 week slate to win all the money.
Like, I'll put it to you this way, and I'll put it to the chat this way. Who would you rather have in week 17. Saquon Barkley on 25% of the teams that get there, or Devin Achane on let's not even say 5% and make it crazy. 10% of teams have Devin Achane, 25% of teams have Barkley. That probably makes it close because Barkley, like every week, does project for like straight up the most
He has
points.
such a good matchup week 17 too against the Cowboys.
Who do the Dolphins play?
Browns. They get the Browns, which is like they're somewhat of a run funnel. They're and
well,
like
they just
some teams are
are
going to start quitting soon, man. Like that's like on both
well,
sides.
the Browns have quit. The Browns have quit.
Yeah, but like, is Miami going to be like if they're 2-8? What is Miami doing, man? You know, like that could be.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, which is that Miami could absolutely be one of those teams that that quits. Where actually Tyreek Hill, Achane, Johnny Smith, all these guys, they don't matter, in the end because they're not playing.
I think some of the guys
that's so frustrating, actually.
like Tyreek is more likely to quiet quit because he's just like gearing up for the next contract. He's a little bit older. I don't really see the running backs quitting as much just because it's such a short career span that like you just want to be very good for your next contract. Like you want to be valued like you're so important. Did we touch on all the trades? Were there any notable, like, so we talked about Mingo, we talked about Khalil Herbert. You didn't really give your Khalil Herbert take.
Oh, my take is that Chase Brown maybe could get 32 touches a game in college, but he probably is not going to hold up to that in the National Football League. So I think Herbert will be the clear number 2, will be the clear backup. But yeah, he can get 6 to 10 touches per game. The thing is Herbert is more Chase Brown than he is Zach Moss. Like
Yes,
he's not
saying, yeah.
He's not a pass protector, veteran, protect the ball. Like
yeah.
Weirdly, the guy who would make more sense would be Roschon Johnson. Roschon Johnson is actually the perfect backfield mate for Chase Brown, where you never have to give him the ball in a high leverage situation. He's an incredible pass protector. He never makes mistakes. Like, I mean, not that the Bears would have traded Roschon Johnson away, but I wonder, I just wonder, what are they thinking? What are the Bengals thinking? Are the Bengals thinking, oh, we'll play Travion? Because what they did in this game against the Raiders was they played Travion Williams in some of those long down and distance, but he got 0 touches. Like they're not giving Travion Williams the ball. So I'm just wondering, what do you think their plan is? Because it was a weird trade.
It is like, I don't know how much we can take because it's like, okay, they played the Raiders, a team everyone runs the ball on. So It's like tonight against the Ravens. It's just going to be
against the Ravens.
It's going to be tomorrow night. It's going to be a way more pass heavy script. It's very unlikely we're going to get like Chase Brown 20 rushing attempts, which, like Chase Brown 5 screen passes, you're happy about that too. I'd be very excited about these Chase Brown. Like that's the other thing is that
I'll take the under on this for my life that Herbert gets 10 carries a game. Herbert has 8 rush attempts on the year.
Yeah, I don't see him, like, I think it's like 8 max, but another market dynamic that's occurring here is not only were the early running backs good picks, but the more 0 RB range of guys, a lot of them have been bad picks. And then the good picks
because no running backs have been hurt. For 0 RB guys to hit, running backs have to get hurt.
No, but I'm telling you, like, these guys didn't require injury as far as Brian Robinson. He's been good, but missed time. Chase Brown, he's been good, but he's more coming into himself now. Rico Dowdle has been very okay. He's like a hit there. But then you have a lot of busts. You have Devin Singletary, lost his job. Zeke, seemed like, can we talk about how wrong your Zeke conspiracy was, where he's now ejected from or he's deactivated from the team or whatever? Like, the Rico Dowdle conspiracy to
Well,
get
first
Dalvin
off, it
Cook.
wasn't. It was not my conspiracy. It was a
No,
conspiracy that
whoever pushed that out there, it's just funny that literally the next week Zeke is deactivated. I mean, which maybe I guess could bleed into the conspiracy because Dalvin Cook got activated again. But anyways, on the
do
the
you
other
think
like
they cut Zeke? They probably will, right?
they should, but like Trey Benson, he's been a total zero to
Total
date.
0. Yeah.
And might be something going forward, right? Like score a touchdown, James Conner, but it's too late for them, right? Jonathan Brooks, literally been a 0. It's too late for those teams, right? Like unless they paired him with Chuba Hubbard, they're just like they're getting no running back points. Blake Corum, I don't think people thought that Blake Corum would have no fantasy points on the season up until week 10, right? Like you thought if you pieced together enough of these guys, Jalen Wright, right, that you would be getting some running back production, Khalil Herbert, and you just haven't, right? Some of it is for the lack of injury. Some of it is because these guys just have not been producing like you thought because, it took a leap of faith to be like, oh, the third round rookie is going to split touches with James Conner. And then
Well,
the
it's
Cardinals
just
are
here.
like, no.
I pulled up a draft board. So starting at pick 100, Jonathan Brooks, like basically worst pick on the board.
Pollard's been good.
Pollard's been good. Javonte probably is like a neutral advance rate guy, right?
No, he had one good week. Jalen Warren's been bad.
One good week for a 10th round guy. I mean, what more do you want?
But like the teams that built wide receiver heavy, elite quarterback, elite tight end, and then went Javonte Williams, Zach Charbonnet, Jerome Ford, and just took 7 running backs. Those teams are doing very bad.
Those teams are dead. Yeah.
You needed to and I have anyone who's advancing teams like that, you should be excited about just because it's so hard to get them there.
Brian Robinson Jr., small win. Zamir White, worst pick on the board. Tajay Spears, terrible pick. Zach Moss, bad pick. Rico Dowdle, half the count as a
wasn't
win.
a bad pick. He the chaos didn't break his way.
Well,
and now he's out for the year.
But so the thing with a 0 RB guy is guys like Devin Singletary, guys like Zach Moss,
they're risky.
Guys like
they're risky.
But they're risky because it's all dependent on what the coaches want to do. Because Zach Moss cannot play well enough.
Agreed.
To score fantasy points over expectation. He can't get there on 11 touches explosive, a game. He's not explosive. And I think the same thing is true for Ty Chandler. Chubb, weirdly, what's funny is Chubb
is not a good pick, man.
It was almost going to work out for him, but it's going to end up not working out because the Browns are terrible. He needs the Browns to be good.
More snaps than him.
Yeah, because they were down 20 points. Yeah.
Gus, terrible. Zeke, bad. Dobbins, smash. Tyler Algier, not enough for what you want.
Tyler, he's done enough, right? He's had 2 big spike
Ray
weeks.
Davis is a very small win. Bucky
Small
Irving,
win.
A solid win. Gibson, bust. Chuba, hit.
Jordan Mason, super hit.
Jordan Mason, low-key bust for what he should have been. Hit considering draft cost, but bust considering what his he's just very unlucky as far as the touchdown scored versus expected touchdowns. He's under doing that by 3 or so. Marshawn Lloyd might return. Tank Bigsby.
Jerome Ford is a bad pick. Why does Benny think Jerome Ford is a good pick?
I thought Jerome Ford was going exactly what occurred. I thought would have happened with Jerome Ford, which is that even when Chubb returns, he'd play a lot. And so in that sense, you're just drafting.
It's just the team being so dusty is bad for him.
Well, and I think what's bad for him is Jameis is a gunslinger, whereas Deshaun Watson would have checked it down a lot. Yeah. And so you don't want Brett Favre when you're trying to get running back.
Tank Bigsby felt like a huge win for a week, but is now not now you're
Mitchell can make his mark here, man. He's a full practice. Tyrone Tracy has been a solid hit.
Tyrone Tracy, very solid hit. Justice Hill, huge hit. No doubt about it. Massive hit.
But he gave you 2 weeks, and now Keaton Mitchell's back, and I
kind of think Keaton Mitchell just doesn't play. Maybe unpopular opinion, but Justice Hill's been so good.
I think Keaton Mitchell definitely was like Justice Hill was losing his job for Keaton Mitchell last year, and then he got hurt. Now Justice Hill's been good this year.
Remember, Justice Hill is now 3 years removed from his Achilles, which is like
that's playing into it too.
That sounds insane, but like remember Donta Foreman? Donta Foreman ruined his Achilles as a rookie and didn't come back until 4 years later, and then has basically been, outside of this year, like a very good explosive early down rusher. Boy, I wish I could swap out every time I took Audric Estime for fucking anyone else, because
well, yeah, like I drafted a lot of Will
happening.
Shipley, right? And so it's like, okay, like it required a Saquon injury that hasn't occurred. It could, and by drafting Shipley, it inherently means I don't have as much Tyrone Tracy, which was really like kind of the only guy this cheap, maybe Tank too, who you're like, yes, I have this guy on my team. But Carson Steele.
I also wish I could turn every Malik Washington pick into someone else. It's neither here nor there. Yeah, so like this is the type of thinking I tried to avoid. Blake Corum, horrible pick, is like, well, was he I don't know. Maybe he was a horrible pick, because where Blake Corum went,
like I ranked Rico ahead of him pretty quickly, where Corum was going ahead of Rico for a large portion of drafts. Until like late in the season.
The thing with Corum's price tag, it was definitely indicating a belief there's going to be some standalone value, and there's been absolutely no standalone value at all. Yeah. This team, by the way, is like on the knife's edge of advancing in a big dog. Why do I have Najee Harris on a team?
Well, and this team seems like it pieced together enough at running back through Najee, Javonte, Rico, Eckler,
Khalil Herbert. We up,
and then now you got Herbert, and so it's just a reminder that like some years, a lot of these guys are going to be really good picks. Where it's like Breece Hall rolls an ankle, and you're getting just Braylon Allen like starting running back for 6 weeks, or Ken Walker's injury is a long-term thing in Zach Charbonnet starting running back, or like Marshawn Lloyd doesn't get hurt, outplays Josh Jacobs. Kamani Vidal just, looks awesome and beats out J.K. Dobbins. And then there's other years where you're not going to get that. And so, if you're going to build a lot of zero RB, which I think a lot of people did because it was successful last year, and I like to do it every year because it is a logical way to take advantage of chaos, where it is logical to assume running backs get hurt.
Let's look at a draft board from last year. This is a draft board from 2023, and we can see the dichotomy of how these things changed.
And the big thing that stands out when you look at the top is the running backs are just more expensive, right? Last year.
Yeah. Well, this is all
like the quantity of running backs going in the first 4 rounds.
So this is like breaking my brain, but this is clearly broken.
Did you pull up a playoff pod?
I pulled up a playoff pod.
Yeah, you can't do that. It's not a lot. You need to go into the regular season. The playoff pods, for whatever reason, are never logical.
All right, you learned something new. How do I? That right there just broke my brain. So
there's 3 Travis Kelce's on the screen and like 5 AJ Browns. These are all the playoff teams. And
that right there just gave me an aneurysm trying to figure out. Okay, here we go. Here's a draft board from last year.
So again, the running backs are all more expensive, right?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 running backs in the top 16 picks. But let's look here. So Connor, huge win. Brian Robinson Jr., huge win.
Jalen Warren was a smash.
Yeah, Jalen Warren was a marginal win last year.
Achane and Mostert.
Yeah, Pacheco, huge win. Charbonnet was marginal last year. Mitchell was a loss. McKinnon was a loss. Dillon was a loss. Bigsby was a loss. Achane was a win. Mostert was a win. Algier was marginal. Pirine, huge loss. Jamal Williams, huge loss. Rashad Penny, huge loss. Damian Harris, huge loss. When the fuck did this draft take place? The Deuce Vaughn was a 12th round pick. Loss. Singletary, giant win.
On averaged 8 points per game, so it's like surprise. Like he did give you some weeks, but
He
yeah,
gave you
lost
he gave you
overall.
some weeks. Singletary, one of the biggest, most advanced rate players of the
Yeah,
year.
he was a strong win last year.
Zeke
Zeke was a
actually
strong
ended up
win.
being marginal. Yeah.
No, he was a pretty good guy down the stretch.
Hubbard, huge win. Kareem Hunt was fine. Jeff Wilson Jr., huge loss. Deion Jackson, huge loss. Ty Chandler, I honestly don't remember.
He was okay. He was pretty okay last year. And
Clyde
Zamir was good last year too.
Clyde had 20 points in week 16. That was really his only contribution. Rico
Yeah, but he
Dowdle was a
wasn't, like,
win.
advancing you.
Yeah.
Jerome Ford was a really solid pick last year,
Yeah.
as was
So,
Zamir.
I mean, just one look at just one look at the like a cursory look at a draft board from last year shows how much better of a year it was for 0 running back teams.
Someone said I drafted hyper fragile but picked all the wrong dudes. I mean, that's almost hard to do because if you have any collection of like Ken Walker, James Cook, like mixing of Kamara or whatever, you're taking it to the bank. Really, the only bad way to do hyper fragile was like CMC, ETN, and then like Josh Jacobs has been very neutral of a pick. Like I don't like who even else is like a bad first like highly drafted running back to have. Jonathan Taylor has missed time and not been
Yeah,
that
you're
great.
not feeling. Yeah, I mean, Demarcus Robinson leads the NFL in target to touchdown ratio. So if that was what you were projecting,
Look, I have 25 Demarcus Robinson teams only because of when I drafted, where early in the season, like there weren't a lot of wide receivers sticking out.
I'll
To
tell you this,
draft.
he's a better pick than Greg Dortch, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, and it's like, no, but I was trying to say that, like, yeah, I have a lot of him. I don't think he's like a win, like anyone victory lapping having Demarcus Robinson. I think we should just count ourselves lucky that we've gotten 2 weeks, and like if we get another week in the playoffs, like that's paying it off. And what like he was pure point chasing from last year, which that's not wrong to do at times. It does burn you at times though, right? Like Raheem Mostert, Keenan Allen, if you point chase them, which I did not, you feel pretty bad about that right now. Mostert could still have some games. But
I'm kind of more pro point chasing in general than like your average fantasy analyst. But
I am too. Yeah.
the thing I don't do is I don't do it with old players. That's
Well,
just
then,
the
yeah,
thing.
you're not point chasing. Like, I mean, there's no way you could have looked at his game logs last year and been like, well, he scored a touchdown in 6 straight weeks. Terrible. Unless you knew like Jordan
Well, like
Whittington
this
or
is
whatever.
obviously not true. Like I don't know. I do get so annoyed by things that are just very not true. The Michael Gallup last year as a 14th round pick. It is so funny to think like you look at these draft boards.
Isaiah Hodgins.
Yeah. Jaden Reed as a 14th round pick. It really does just illustrate so little of what we know. Van Jefferson.
Yeah, like look at
pick.
that's another thing to look at is we should look at let's look at this board and then let's look at the next board as far as late round wide receivers because okay, Van Jefferson terrible, Mingo terrible, Hyatt terrible, Thielen really good last year, Reed really good, Hodgins terrible, Michael Gallup terrible, KJ Osborne had like a little bit but pretty bad, Curtis Samuel okay, he had an okay stretch, Pierce terrible last year, Donovan Peoples-Jones terrible, Michael Wilson very mid. Rashid Shaheed.
No, he had a
solid.
2 touchdown game basically.
1-2 touchdown game, exactly one, and then he did nothing else. Rashid Shaheed, really good. Devontae Parker, big bust. Hardman bust. Slayton, bad all year until the playoffs where he had like 2 weeks. I had a lot of him last year, so I would know that. Rondo Moore,
Damn, Hunter
terrible.
Renfro
Terrible. Tank Dell smashed and then got hurt. Chark, terrible, but then he did have like one random playoff game too. Reynolds, pretty like had some games to begin, but was pretty bad overall. Josh Palmer, really good last year due to the injuries. Justin Ross, bust. Austin, bust. Juan Daly, not that great last year. And Robert Woods, total bust last year.
It's true. There were like no hits.
Let's look at this current board. I'm laughing at you subscriber checking someone in the chat.
Well, these losers. Sometimes here's the thing.
Hey man,
Some
if they're gonna sling it, they got to be able to take it, right?
That's the thing. Yeah. I sometimes the haters and losers, of which there are many, they deserve to be pointed and laughed at. Are we going back to a
Yeah, let's look at the wide receivers this year from like rounds 12 to 18.
All right, let's just pull up a random chow chow.
No, don't do a chow chow. Do a best ball mania board. Because these chow chows and shit, like some of them act really funky as far as where wide receivers go early in the draft.
Too late. We're already here.
We'll scroll down.
Then. I already pulled a Debo Nico turn, buddy. Should have been good. Oh, Rashi Rice, shout out to you, brother. All right, late wide receivers.
Yeah, scroll up just a little bit to get round 12 in there.
Johnny Wilson, Darius Slayton, Khalif
Slayton
Raymond.
Solid again this year. Khalif Raymond has had a couple random
touchdowns. He plays, but he's a 0. Javon Baker, 0. Mims,
but he might actually be something. Mims, terrible. Tucker, he gave you like 1-2 weeks, but it's pretty bad. Jalen Naylor, like he's actually been okay. Very rarely drafted though. Hyatt, total bust. Jermaine Burton, like probably a bust. Maybe he turns it around here. Whittington, not good. McCaffrey, not good despite playing. Quentin Johnston, he's been very good advance rate wise. I don't like it going forward. Boyd, terrible. Brendan Rice, terrible. Malachi Corley, bad. Some chance with the Mike Williams trade that he gets something going.
Man, is there a chance? Because
I think there is, man. Because there's no Allen Lazard. What's it going to be? Xavier Gibson?
You think Aaron Rodgers is going to put him back on the field after he dropped that ball going into the end zone?
We need to. I've not been reading the chat, by the way, so I don't know what's going on there. Someone was fighting around, but I do think Malachi. Like, I think the Jets need to play him. Like, he showed something. Jalen Tolbert, he's been very mid for like as much as he plays, but he's been okay. Dortch, bust. Yoshi Voss.
Dortch isn't a bust. He just is not going to matter.
He's a bust for as far as scoring. Yoshi Voss gotten very lucky on touchdowns. Demarcus Robinson, 2 good weeks.
Yoshi Voss probably a very slight win, given how bad late round wide receivers have been.
No, he's been a very good advance rate. He's like QJ in that sense with a little bit more optimism where he's had weeks, but I don't like it going forward.
Dude, Jermaine, by the way, we haven't talked about this. Jermaine Burton. I mean, can you not just help my bags, dude? Can you not, like, brother, you can't show up to the Saturday walkthrough with T. Higgins out? Come on, man.
Yeah.
I just that is so frustrating.
Rashad Bateman, meh. McMillan, he's got a chance going forward. Thielen, total bust. Wandale, he's been okay. He had like
he's like 3rd in the NFL in targets, but like so useless for fantasy.
For half point, especially. Michael Wilson, not been great. Downs, a smash going forward.
Super
Douglas,
smash, yeah.
He's giving you no weeks, but he's playing. So Leggett, pretty solid. Ricky Pearsall got a chance moving forward, but like no one's really doing anything right now.
It's Mooney. Mooney is your late round wide receiver. Mooney and QJ. And QJ, obviously, I would be not as in on going forward.
The Mooney is people talking about Kincaid. Kincaid is not like a bust. Like, look at Mark Andrews. Look at Travis Kelce requiring a Rashee Rice injury. He had a season high 10 targets. He's going to be fine going forward. He just needs to have a spike week. Someone like wanted me to like talk trash on Xavier Worthy to counter Dalton Kincaid. That's not really my style, despite Worthy not being a great 5th round pick.
No, Worthy is not going to get there. Worthy needs.
I view it the same. Like, Worthy could definitely have a 2 touchdown game. Like, you're fooling yourself if you think the fastest guy in the NFL can't just catch
he could. Oh yeah. How often is Tillman drafted? I really wish BBM DB was up
very
right
rarely.
Now
I did pull that. I have 3 Tillman teams. One's advancing. The other ones are like so dead. Like 200 points back.
I've got some Tillman teams, but I know they're with Deshaun Watson. So what's the point?
Wow, as long as you get another quarterback, you know?
Yeah. Kamani Vidal, that's just while we're looking here. I'm like, man, Kamani Vidal, that should have been one.
There's still time for that, you know, like injury. Like we've seen Christian Kirk get lost for the year. Zach Moss get lost for the year, essentially.
This team, by the way, this team should be advancing, but it's got Mahomes and Rashee Rice on it. It's got Mooney, it's got Likely, it's got Dobbins, it's got well, I guess Mostert is not very good. Fucking Rashee Rice, man. Rashee Rice is that's what I'm gonna remember about this season, Liam. I'm just gonna remember that I should have really gotten there by being ahead on Rashee Rice, and then it's honestly it's just gonna end up being DeAndre Hopkins' year.
Yeah, what I put a tweet out. What wide receiver X for him going forward?
Hopkins?
Yeah.
Like wide receiver 9 or something.
You think he's wide receiver 9 overall going forward?
I haven't done. I'll do my rest of season rankings later today. Let's look. Rest of season fantasy football rankings. I mean, yeah, he's just Rashee Rice, but he's DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, let's look at let's look at this draft
These
board
are
here.
these are ESPN rest of season rankings. All right. I'd rather have him than Devonta Smith. I'd rather have him than Metcalf. I'd rather have him than Adams, Reed. Rather have Flowers.
No, I would rather have Metcalf substantially over Hopkins. Like I think we need
that feels about right. Wide receiver 15, wide receiver
way
18, something like that.
Way closer to wide receiver 20. Because
would you rather have Devontae Adams or Hopkins? It's very cool, Peter. Thank you.
That one's kind of close, but like similar to people overrating Jameis last week because he played the Ravens with like an injured secondary. I don't think Devontae Adams Hopkins is going to have a great week against Denver. Maybe he does,
no,
but like
he is going to have a good week against Denver because he's just going to have a good week every week.
This is going to be the Chiefs winning 14-10 with like Kareem Hunt scoring 2 touchdowns.
They've gotten 30 points back-to-back weeks, brother.
Against Tampa, literally one of the worst defenses in the league. And who did they play the week before?
The Raiders.
The Raiders, one of the worst teams in the league. So
quality of defense doesn't matter. It's just how hard do they want to try.
Quality defense does matter. It does matter a lot. Yes, like they played the injured Saints.
See, I think this is crazy. I literally might rather have Mooney, honestly.
Well, yeah. I mean, as far as like, I would rather have Hopkins on my advanced team best ball team because of ownership.
Oh, sure.
Like I do think Hopkins gets it together, but I think it's jumping to be like, I'd rather have him than DK Metcalf, who is just mashing every single week. Heaviest team in football.
Is JSN back?
No, JSN is probably a byproduct of Metcalf missing significant time. So I mean, he has to be productive with old man Lockett and no Metcalf in there. But we are getting Metcalf back in 2 weeks. We are getting Mike Evans back. We are getting Nico back this week, next week.
Not this week for Nico. It's
like I'd rather have Zay Flowers and Jaden Reed than DeAndre Hopkins.
Flowers, yes. Reed, no. I don't think.
I would just much rather have Reed. I think Hopkins is going to have some great games. But I don't know, like, how many pass attempts did Mahomes have against the Bucs? Because Travis Kelce had 14 targets.
Well, that's the thing, is they're such a efficient offense. They're best in the NFL on third downs, but they're not explosive. So there are a lot of plays. They're a high volume offense. They don't score that many. Like it's weird, but like for a PPR scam merchant, it's kind of good. Like
I'd rather have Terry McLaurin than
no.
He's like gotten there almost every week with Jaden Daniels.
That's just like a low volume situation. He has to catch a touchdown or he gets like 6 points.
I hear you there, but like I mean, half points the game we're playing. I'd rather have Hopkins than Pickens. I'd rather have Hopkins than Amari Cooper probably, especially with the wrist injury. Although Keon Coleman might be hurt, which maybe changes the calculus. I'd rather have a healthy T. Higgins.
Keon, by the way, Liam, I played a 2% owned Josh Allen and a 4% owned Keon Coleman in the SPY. And when Keon Coleman,
You should have hit me up, bro, because I knew that was a bad Keon week. Like
he had a touchdown. He had a touchdown in the.
but he would have one touchdown. Like you don't beat
No,
Miami by hitting the
dude.
outside wide
No,
outs.
let me tell you about your own team. That to me was the same thing as Worthy fucking up that first quarter thing of Josh being like, "All right, dude, enough. I'm not throwing you the ball."
Yeah, I mean, no, I just think it was a bad, like, how you beat the Dolphins is you don't throw at Jalen Ramsey when their front seven's terrible. They're not that great at the middle of the field. Like I'd rather have Debo Samuel, pretty egregious ranking here. I'd rather have him
now
than
that
Hopkins.
CMC is back, I'm less in on Debo, and I'm like a Debo guy.
He's just way under expectation. So like
Yeah.
that's
He hasn't had
skewing
he hasn't really had he had the 172-yard touchdown, but he hasn't really had like a Debo game yet.
I'd rather have Hopkins than JSN. Yes, I'd rather have him than Cedric Tillman.
You know who's too low in this is Josh Downs. I'd rather have Josh Downs than Cooper, Higgins. I mean, Josh Downs is going to
but like
smash.
I do think Richardson starts again, so that changes things.
I mean, they've said that he is not going to. They said
I'm pretty
Flacco
sure
rest of
Rome
the year.
Odunze has just straight up outscored DJ Moore. Isn't that wild?
We're back. Who do you want?
Hey,
who do you want to query?
Let's look at our Hopkins teams.
Well, let's look at CeeDee Lamb.
So what's the deal with CeeDee Lamb's injury?
Is this right? This cannot be right.
That seems like last week's numbers. Like pull up CMC. Let's see if it changed.
Scores updated 15.9 hours ago. I guess CD's super boosted.
Brown. See what Chase Brown is at, because that should just be a little bit higher than it's been.
Really? Yeah. No, this is updated.
Yeah, I'm surprised Lamb is doing well. He's paired a lot with Saquon probably.
Lamb paired a lot with the Bucks. Why would that be true?
Stuff or whatever that some people.
Well,
like
there's an easy way to query that. CD.
No, it is true. I do think some people did that, but not.
Well, who is the wide receiver? Who is here? CD and DJ Moore.
Godwin is still a positive advance rate guy.
No, I'm saying there's an easy way to check and see if it's true. Who's the wide receiver?
Mike Evans.
No, let's make it a 6th rounder so that ADP doesn't influence it. Who is a wide receiver? Rome Odunze. He is with Rome Odunze 2,469 times.
But Rome was on the other side of the board too.
Who was close to Godwin? I'm having trouble.
I thought you were just going to do Mike Evans versus.
All right, let's do that. Evans.
Because he's just a little bit easier to do.
10,000 Evans teams.
Metcalf and Moore are your other guys.
4,000 Metcalf teams. And 3,000. Yeah, so okay. So it is true. It is true.
Yeah, which like I don't want that correlation on my team if the field is doing that, especially because it doesn't matter for week 17. Like if that gets there week 17, that's just random, right? As far as like Lamb and Godwin.
This is a good question. How much of CD is with Dak? A lot of them are with Mr. Prescott.
What is the deal with Lamb's injury?
So he doesn't even have an injury designation on any of the websites right now, but they said he was week to week with his shoulder injury.
Okay.
So there are 29,000.
Are we getting Trey Lance or Cooper Rush?
Sounds like Cooper Rush. There is not a way to check this stuff for DK best ball. Can't really check anything. You can download your CSV, which I don't even know there's a way to do, and you can go to bestballexplorer.com.
I have 2 advancing Hopkins teams. What about you?
Yeah, this is a good question. Well, let's see. DeAndre Hopkins with Mahomes. How many are there in the field? 4,469. How many of them don't have Rashee Rice or Pacheco? 3,380 teams without Rashi, with DeAndre Hopkins, with Mahomes? How many with Kelsey? Oh, fuck. I might buy one of these teams for $100, Liam. This team right here, Mahomes and Burrow, Mahomes and Kelsey, Burrow and Chase, with fucking Barkley, Henry, and Kamara. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so the Chiefs get the Broncos. Probably not the high scoring game for them. They get the Bills. Probably not a high scoring game for either of them. They get the Panthers. I mean, they're going to score points, but who does it? Is it Kareem Hunt? That seems like a game worthy gets there. They get the Raiders. That's a Kareem Hunt game. They get the Chargers. Doesn't seem like a high scoring game. And then in the playoffs, they get the Browns, Texans, and Steelers, which seems fine for the skill pieces.
I mean, look at this guy's wide receivers, though. You wouldn't this is exactly the example of a team that I would never draft this.
Are we getting a Chase nuclear game tonight against the Ravens?
It's tomorrow night, brother.
Oh yeah, it's tomorrow. I'm advancing 10 of my 28 Chase teams. I should have just windmilled it on him.
You want to know what's the current thing that's really frustrating me is that Justin Jefferson is so clearly the greatest wide receiver in the NFL. And
why does he get double covered less than Chase then?
Because his teammate is Jordan Addison and his team puts him in motion. Jamar Chase doesn't ever get put in motion.
Well, defenses seem to respect Chase a little bit more.
I'm about to give you I mean, the thing that is frustrating is basically that after Jefferson gets 140 yards, the Vikings are like, all right, well, we're going to stop giving you. It's right about 7 for 140. They decide to start giving the ball to other guys. I don't really get it, but it's very frustrating.
No, he's going to have a blow up game here. So yeah, I have 18 advancing teams. 10 of them have Jamar Chase.
Let's see. I don't even know how many advancing teams I have. Not very many.
There's a lot of binariness as far as whether you're.
Look at all these teams that are within 10 to 20.
Are these your Jefferson teams?
No, these are just my teams in general.
Your teams, okay. What's your expected? So yeah, your expected is 13.4. So everyone out there, especially if you noticed what your expected was last week, write your change from expected to what it currently is. I'm gonna show you.
Every time I see Jalen Polk on a team, I'm just like, dude, what were you doing?
Well, I mean, what you were doing is you were drafting Mingo, which, and sometimes it's Tank Dell, pull up my comment there. Anyone out there that knows what their expected was last week to this week?
Soccer Dave.
Expected advance rate 18.3 to 19.3 or whatever it was. I'm just curious how it changed.
Yeah, everyone should take a note of this. The Soccer Dave with no advancing DeAndre Hopkins teams. He does have a bunch that are close though. Soccer Dave has a Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray.
One.
Yeah. Hartman says his expected is always just half a team less than his actual.
Well, they only rolled out expected last week, and
this is DFS temp. Thank you. It's so fucking tilting. Just can we just get? Can I get an 11 for 189 in 2 game out of Justin Jefferson, please? I'm literally begging you.
So it looks like people's expected
this dude knows how to draft. 33% advance rate, bro. Get off me. How many is Soccer Dave advancing? Soccer Dave is advancing 2 teams. He's got some that are close though.
Poor form the week after Soccer Dave was let go to be roasting his advance rates.
Soccer Dave is gonna be just fine. Soccer Dave is gonna be
probably
just fine.
But I don't condone this.
Who else do we look up? Let's look up Peter's teams. Peter's probably advancing 21.
Let's look at our best teams, man. I have a Bijan Puka.
Pete at exactly average is so funny because of how he drafts.
No, he's one below average.
Okay, Pete advancing exactly 25 teams would be very funny. All right, let's look up Chesley.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite here. Put in the team with Bijan and Puka. This is probably my favorite team that it's not advancing, but like as far as like win equity, if it makes it, I really like this squad.
No, we got a May team. Polk, of course, it's Polk.
Polk's the only like 0, but the Bijan Puka is extremely rare.
Dude, Chase Brown is gonna be the answer.
Well, yeah, just I mean, like it nailed a bunch of guys who can at least give you points. So there's no like Ty Chandlers on it. There's no whatever.
If you guys want us to review your team, you send a super chat. I of course I will do that.
In Chess Liam's chat.
He's in your chat. So there you go. Yeah.
I can't even tell that.
If you guys send super chats, of course we will review.
What I like about this is Bijan and Puka was only able like attainable like sub 400 times. So it just makes your like your sweat equity if it makes the playoffs like very clear. Like Puka, Bijan, let's go. Don't punch anyone. Don't get ejected. This team has quite a bit of week 17.
No, Liam, what you just said, you just zoomed past one of the most important things, which is like in these crazy big contests, the power of a unique combo. Like when you are on the clock, just remember this in Best Ball Mania 6 or whatever. When you're on the clock and you have the chance to get this crazy unique combo, like just don't think about it. Just do it, because that is going to be so massive.
Yeah, this is something I've written about a lot too, where you can create your own.
There's only 179 of those teams in the entire player pool.
Yeah, and how I attained this was partially through pure luck, but partially I purposely started drafting after we got some negative Puka reports, because I knew there was a time cycle there where it's like inherently once you get negative news, people are going to let it fall. And now it turns out that we were getting negative news cycles for a good reason, right? Like Puka has been a total 0. But if he's going to be, if he's going to be Puka Nacua the rest of the way, that's my, like, I get a team to the finals with Bijan and Puka. It's like, okay, boys, like simply both drop 30 and we can win this sucker,
Yeah, if you guys keep subscribing to my channel, then sure. But if the subscribers are not coming in, no, I will be.
Davis subscribes me, I'm retiring. No, I'm kidding. That's inevitable.
I'll be working for State Farm. I will not have time to stream. All right, there we go. Here we go. Liam, we got a super chat. Let's bet MMA.
I have a Kyron Barkley team new to football this year. Feel going to max out BBMs next year. This is another thing. I want to address something that MMA is saying here, where a lot of people advanced, like, someone drafted a lot of Mostert last year and had a good year. And they're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm a genius at best ball. I'm going to now do like 10 grand of teams. And it's just a good reminder that like, whether you're having a good year or bad year, next year is a new year. I do not overrate your abilities or think you've found like the secret keys to the kingdom, and just play within your means,
Yeah, I mean, I would say I don't love this team conceptually.
Okay, so here's some things I don't advise. Here's what I don't like. You should never ever be going 3 quarterbacks with Josh Allen. Don't ever do that on an 18-round slate ever. If it's a 20-round slate, it's a little bit more excusable. I think the running back quantity is fine, but when you start with Saquon and Kyron, you probably do not need the 6th running back. It could probably be better used at wide receiver. Your wide receivers, you've thread a very thin needle. Okay, so you got Josh Allen to Shakir, you got Cousins to no one. So I don't know why you drafted Kirk Cousins. You have Geno Smith to also no one. So I don't like. You want to be trying to stack your quarterbacks. And then your tight end room, I would never have drafted a 3rd tight end on this team because Kincaid and Njoku are both expensive. So I think you should have stopped at 2 quarterbacks. You should have correlated your 2nd quarterback. And you should have drafted probably 2 additional wide receivers instead of drafting Audric Estime and Theo Johnson. That's my advice there.
And the wide receivers are layered in a weird way where they're kind of all PPR merchants other than Dobbs. Like, I don't love that either. I mean, it's not obviously like it's a team that's scoring a lot of points better than a lot of my teams. I actually like the running backs. Like he basically did double anchor RB. All right, here we've got Dave Un. I'm sure it's Devon.
I'm gonna grab some water, Davis. I'll be right back.
All right, Devon. Devon is advancing 4 teams. His best team has Love and Kraft, Dak and no one. But he's got Barkley and Henry. Oh, he's got Dak and Rico. I mean, to be honest, this team sucks. I would not buy this team. Let's see if I'd buy this team. Love and Kraft, Cousins and Mooney, Levis and no one. Hollywood Brown 0, Moss 0, Jacobs is a 0, Malik Washington's a 0. I still probably wouldn't buy this team. Cousins and Pitts, Levis and no one, Knicks, Moss 0, Wilson, Yoshi. Oh, he's got Levis and Boyd. I wouldn't buy this team either. Maybe this team. Hurts and AJ Brown. All right. Love and Dobbs. Walker, Mixon, Elliott, and Dowdle. I don't love that. Pierce 0. Samuel 0. Washington 0. No, I wouldn't buy that team either.
Davis, someone just sent me this. Guess the top 10 of rookies, wide receivers, and tight ends who have the most receiving yards in the NFL today.
The 10 rookies with the most receiving yards?
Yeah, wide receivers and tight ends included. So let's start with number one. Number one here. I think number one.
Brian Thomas Jr.
Yes, number one. Good job getting that, because I think Neighbors is the trap there. Number two.
Neighbors. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Wait, who are you going for 2?
Neighbors. Oh, no, Bowers.
Correct. 3.
Then Neighbors, then Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes, 3 and 4. Correct. Number 5. I think 5 is kind of easy.
Rome.
Nope.
I don't know.
Lad.
Oh, Lad. Yeah, sure.
Number 6.
Okay. Lad, then Rome?
No.
Worthy only has like 300 yards, maybe not even. I really don't know. That's it for me. I don't think I can guess any more in the right order.
Keon.
Number
7. Rome.
Wow, you could have gotten. I would have bet $25 Rome had more yards than Keon. Leggett. Leggett.
Number 8, no one is gonna get, man.
Coker?
Nope.
Theo Johnson, Jatavian Sanders,
correct. Yeah. More than worthy. Number 9,
Leggett,
and then 10.
It can't even be Worthy. Worthy like literally has like 270 yards.
Worthy's 10 at 235.
Yeah. He's the same amount of touchdowns as Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, he's got a lot of touchdowns. And like I don't know, the raw. Your pick's good. My pick, like, I don't think Worthy's a bad pick. I think he was a risky pick. He has a super high ceiling though, right? Like, would I want him on my week 17 squad all else equal? Probably, as far as like a clean sweat of being like, hey, Worthy, go catch 2 touchdowns. We can win this.
Jatavian Sanders caught like a 50-yard Hail Mary last week. He led the team in receiving last week.
Here's the raw numbers, if anyone. So Brian Thomas Jr., 595, Brock Bowers, 580, Malik Neighbors, 557, Marvin Harrison Jr., 445, Ladd, 440, Keon Coleman, 417, Rome Odunze, 391, Jatavian Sanders, 245, Leggett, 244, and then Worthy, 235.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have, as of right now, given their advance rates, I would rather have Worthy than Jacobs, I think, as on an advancing team. That's pretty close. Maybe Jacobs is not
Like,
advancing.
like if Worthy is going to turn into like a 3 target a game guy, no, you
Then
don't want
no.
anything to
Yeah.
do. You don't want anything to do with him. But if
Uh,
he is going to have a spike week every 1 to 3 weeks, like
well, he might. I mean, he might not. I mean, that's the thing is they might just be like, dude, you're McCole Hardman. We hate you.
yeah, I mean, like I think at a minimum he opens the field though for like Hopkins and Kelsey, so he's going to be running routes. He's going to be
Jacobs 20%
in the
advance.
rotation.
Worthy. Let's guess. I'm gonna guess a 9%. Yeah. No. Okay. That's close enough. I'd still probably rather have Jacobs.
Yeah, and I mean,
Well,
I
this
don't
is true.
know.
He's actually getting more. He's actually getting more spike weeks.
I
He's
would
as,
rather have Worthy and Chase Brown though than Josh
oh yeah.
Jacobs and Mike Williams,
Oh
like
yeah.
as far
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
like the 2v2. But that could change. Like Mike Williams might start looking really good with the Steelers for all we know.
Let's do this. How many Mike Williams, Russell Wilson teams are there? Way more than you would think. Jesus Christ.
I probably have a lot of Mike Williams teams. Let's see.
Chess Liam has
16 and advancing 3.
wow. Do I even have one? That's a good question. Do I have one Mike Williams team? Gee, why? Why do I have 5 Mike Williams teams?
My highest scoring team has Mike Williams.
Why on earth do I have 5 Mike Williams teams? These were all after I started streaming, so I'm assuming someone made me take them.
Let's look at our highest scoring teams. I think mine's kind of interesting. It's like a unique hyperfragile squad.
Liam's highest scoring team has 1,200 points. He's got Purdy with Kittle. He's got Rodgers with no longer Mike Williams, and he's got Baker with Jalen McMillan. That one might be sneaky. Gibbs,
so
Cook,
it's
Connor
3
Swift.
rare stacks, and then Gibbs, Cook, Connor Swift. So going like 2 early, like 1 early running back, 1 mid range that's a hit, and then 2 in like round 7 and 8. I think that's like a rare construction for a hyperfragile team. Like Gibbs, Cook, Connor Swift is probably a pretty rare combo in itself. Why, like, okay, so Brown, Tank, Flowers, solid. Mike Williams, to be determined. Josh Downs, hit.
McMillan could be
good.
Definitely could be.
Demarcus Robinson,
Classic.
He's done stuff. Trey Tucker and Cleve Raymond, like, hey, they've contributed more points than McMillan.
Yeah.
And then Kittle and Njoku, like, kind of nutted tight end combo.
Njoku could definitely be the answer to like who was the secret sauce for Best Ball Mania 5 with the injury run out.
Yeah, like the team's a little weak at wide receiver for my taste, but assuming, like if Flacco remains in there, Downs will be solid. And then I mean McMillan, Mike Williams leave the candle on for them to be something.
Do you both think that elite QB will continue to be drafted lower and lower like it started to this year, next year? I do, because the elite quarterbacks this year, other than Lamar, are not separating themselves. What's going to happen is Lamar is going to be far overdrafted. And I love Lamar. I'm a big
Every
Lamar
single year
guy.
this happens though. Like,
yeah, but the guy who scored the most points the year before gets drafted too high relative to the other guys.
As someone that's been in the best ball game a while, my first year playing, Lamar and Mahomes were first round picks. And
they were second round picks, but then
they were 1-2 turn picks, and they were huge busts. Obviously, because like that was Josh Allen's like first year being good, as like he went just after Matt Ryan. The real thing about quarterbacks is it's not like Hurts, Allen, like it's not like these guys have been bad picks. But Jaden Daniels and Baker Mayfield specifically have been really, really, really good advance rate picks. And so
100%.
It's going to depend, like what the market does with quarterbacks is going to be very interesting, because if the market just groups all of the quarterbacks together, where it's like basically rounds like 8 through 10 is just all quarterback picks, Well, that makes the elite quarterbacks really good picks because you're only like when it's a 2-round difference on Josh Allen versus Baker Mayfield, like no question. But if it's gonna have like Lamar as a 2nd-round pick, and then again it's like a rookie, the next Jaden Daniels is a 10th-round pick. That does stuff, So I really don't know what the market's gonna do with that.
Yeah. If this is true, then I'm going to advance 12% of my teams next year too, because I'm not going to be able to avoid that. I mean,
he should go down. Like
he should go down. But as well as I do what's going to happen. He's going to suck. He's going to suck. He's going to suck. They're going to get to the playoffs. He's going to score a bazillion points. The Chiefs are going to score a bazillion points.
But we've seen this enough. We've seen this exact script enough that like people might finally be like, maybe the regular season is not the same thing as the Super Bowl and playoffs.
Like, well, okay. Let me present to you an alternative reality. Who's their projected playoff matchup right now?
Well, they get the bye, so
NFL projected playoffs.
The Bills are not on their side, so like because the Bills get the 2 seed, so the Ravens would get them in 2 weeks. So they get the winner of Chargers versus
so they don't so basically okay, let's do it another way. AFC Conference Championship game, Bills, Ravens, Bengals. Those are the only teams that can beat them. Let's pretend
Texans maybe.
Texans can't beat them, not playing like this. Let's pretend let's pretend it's the Bengals. This is actually maybe even seems the most likely because it could be the 4 seed. So let's pretend it's the Bengals. The Bengals end up being the 4 seed. They come into Arrowhead and they actually can't get anything going. They really try. They can't do it. They end up scoring 21 points at home. The Bengals, they have a drive to end the game, and Mahomes takes a bad sack. It's 3rd and 13. He tries to complete a pass to Kelsey. Kelsey trips over himself, pops it up in the air. Bengals take it back for a pick 6. They win 35-21. Does the narrative then become revenge tour? They get another wide receiver in free agency. They re-sign Hollywood Brown, and then he ends up being a 5th-round pick again.
No, that will be what you are saying. That's not going to be the prevailing
I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to ever happen to me again because it's painful enough to watch them do this. Knowing that I'm losing money every time that they do it makes it even worse. Like every Kareem Hunt touchdown is like getting shot.
Kareem Hunt is a really, really good troll by the Chiefs that they have a guy drafted 88 times. 88 times in all of Best Ball Mania, and no one is benefiting from it. Like, and it's like he's the clear. If you don't have Chiefs bags, like he's the clear. Like, all right, Kareem, go off, young king.
He's at 56 times.
Yeah.
How many of them have Mahomes though? Is there? Oh my God, Zach Jackson, show your face, dude. Show your face, man.
Jackson.
Let's see. This guy is 118 points behind. Okay, he drafted a dog shit team. He can't advance. I was rooting for him.
He got Kamara.
He got Kamara and then made no other good picks.
I mean, Brock Purdy has more rushing yards than Josh Allen. This is something I said going into the year many times.
Yeah, too, Josh is not running.
Which is the Bills do not want Josh to be regular season hero if he doesn't have to be. I think we're eventually going to see that for Jalen Hurts too. Like Hurts might not be good enough to do what Mahomes and Josh do, which is where they're like, hey, we're trying to win the game, but we're not going all out.
No, that's Liam. That's actually a great point. Hurts can't really sit back and just be like, all right, well, let's like for Hurts to be effective enough to win games, he has to use his legs.
Yeah, he might have to be running, which is like good for fantasy, right? Like you don't
want and the touchdowns and the touchdowns.
The touchdowns will always be there. And like Josh is going to have rushing touchdowns regardless if he's running a lot, but it's not even like it's so clear. Mahomes, Allen, even Burrow, like they run more when the games really matter. Right.
No, this is so true. Yeah. Once you get to rounds 3 to 4, like it is. It's like, oh, what am I going to do? Take ETN, Terry McLaurin? No, I'm just going to take Lamar because Lamar's going to get me a lot of points. Like It is a total compiness
Well, and
thing.
it's so funny because Lamar, not including this year, the past 2 years, he was a better in best ball quarterback where he'd
have some really down weeks
he
because
had
of
the
how they played.
huge spikes, but he had so many
Their
10,
defense
11,
is bad now. Their
15,
defense
and
sucks.
yes, and now their defense is bad, and so he's just getting a much more shootout script. He's rushing more. Like, he definitely should be MVP this year, and that's why it's a shame I think they gave it to him last year, because they're just not gonna give it to him again. That's not gonna happen in my opinion. Not that MVP matters at all, but
If Kelsey retires, that'll be interesting. So, like, let's say theoretically Kelsey retires, that will make Mahomes ADP
I think
go down,
Kelsey. I think Taylor Swift probably told him, like, bro, I'm giving you 2 years. Like, I don't want you to go. Like, I love you. I don't want your brain to go more to like, you don't need this, you know.
I think if they win the Super Bowl, he can retire totally clean and just be like, all right, that's it. If they in this
they ain't
scenario,
making the Super Bowl, bro. I don't think they're gonna make the Super Bowl.
In this scenario, I've envisioned where they lose at home to the Bengals. That's a pretty hard way to go out, right? That's a pretty tough way to go.
You gonna do it again next year, get hurt, and then you're like, well, wish I didn't do that.
I mean, he's clear. The thing is, he's clearly still good. He's just clear. Like, he's not great.
I don't think the Chiefs will want to be targeting him 14 times a game in the regular season. Now they may, like, if they view him as expendable and not important for their playoff hopes, maybe. But I think, you get Kareem. That's why you sacrifice Kareem Hunt so much,
Yeah, who's going to be imagine Ashton Jeanty on the Chiefs. Well, they're going to have to take a wide receiver, sadly, because
what pick will Ashton go at?
Way before they pick. He's going to go like pick 12 or something.
Pick 8. I'm going to say pick 8.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Let's see. I wonder. Pious Devil. There we go. People, you want us to look up your teams? Very simple way to do it. Very simple way. Pious Devil. Let's see if this man has anything live. He is advancing.
Lucky number 19.
He's better. He's better than me.
Advance is pretty poor compared to his current. That's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder what that's about. All right, his best team is of course, it's a Henry team. He's gotten nothing out of these guys, and Chandler is a 0. Lloyd could be coming back. Herbert is trending towards at least being on the field, but he's got Kirk, Mooney, and
outlook
Pitts.
Is significantly better for Herbert. Whether it comes through or not, it is much better than being inactive on the Bears.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave, you got way up. Pete dropped 50 memberships, and you dropped a just subscribe. So you got way one-upped on the comment marketing. Go subscribe to the Soulcast, guys.
Yeah, please. Honestly, please subscribe to the the Soulcast channel. Okay, you've got Jaden Terry, you got Puka coming back, you've got London, you've got Flowers. I'd buy this team for $100, Pious Devil. This is a good team. This is
Godwin, though.
Does have Godwin, which you don't love.
It doesn't really matter because it's solid. It's got Puka, London, Flowers, Terry.
So here's my big brain thing. Mooney is going to be such an advance rate cheat code that Mooney teams with the other Falcons guys are actually sick, because you can have a Cousins team that goes nuclear with Mooney solo teams dying. So let's say Mooney ends up being the highest advance rate wide receiver, but then Mooney does nothing in week 15 or week 16. Those teams die on the Mooney solo teams die, but then you still have access to his score in week 17.
At 34% right now. Surprised it's not higher, honestly.
Yeah.
He's been so good.
Yeah.
And like
this is a sick team. This is the Washington Atlanta game. I like this team. This team is on my list of I would buy it. This is a good team.
Let's go to Lone Labo. Appreciate you, Lone.
Lone Labo drafted 100 teams. He's advancing 27 of them. So GG to you. It's funny. His highest scoring team he drafted in August, and his second highest scoring team he drafted in May. Highest scoring
I
team.
like the early ones. Like, let's look at his May one, just because I think those ones are
Sure.
just inherently going to be more unique.
All right. He's got Lamar and
Hilarious.
Bateman.
Herbert has not been able to contribute a single point.
Yeah. And he's got
all
Herbert
season.
with Herbert with Dobbins, which actually weirdly is a
Dobbins.
pairing. Well, kind of the
Pairing,
way the Chargers are playing. It's they throw touchdowns to a bunch of guys who are useless, and then Dobbins gets the rushing ones.
He's
JT
got
could be a low advance rate
Hawkinson
hammer.
coming back, so that's nice. I wouldn't have drafted Musgrave on this team, but I get it with Hawkinson not starting the year.
He's got Brian Thomas. He's got an uncorrelated McLaurin,
which is like fine, honestly. Like you'd rather him be correlated, but having Lamar makes Jaden Daniels not that essential. Yeah, I mean, Brian Thomas could be an even better pick with no Kirk down the stretch. Like, they're not going to be able to build the whole house out of Evan Ingram.
Why would this person think that taxes are hard to figure out in these situations? This person, I'm assuming this person has never gotten a 1099 from a fantasy site. I guess that's a little bit of telling on yourself. This is a good team. I would not buy this team for $100 though. Let's look at the other one. This team is Burrow and Chase, Geno and Metcalf, Barkley, Kamara, Moss sucks, Benson, Hubbard, Madison. Madison, low-key, very good pick.
Solid pick and a classic case of a guy drafted in 20-round sites, but not 18 enough, you know? Andrews and Gesicki, league winner Gesicki without T. Higgins.
Yeah,
Chase,
I mean, is Teagan's
Metcalf,
ever going to come back?
Wide receiver is a little rough on this squad, but you might be able to make up for it with your.
This one he just lost too many guys. Let's see. What about this one? Purdy and fuck, these injuries, man. These injuries.
Doesn't have Isaac Grendo though.
That is a sick pick.
Isaac Grendo. How often was he drafted?
That's a good question.
I have some Isaac Grendo. But he might not be anything now that CMC is returning.
Drafted 6,877 times.
Pull up our Grendo teams. I don't know.
I bet I don't have any.
I did draft some.
Yeah,
but I bet I drafted him early in the year.
You're advancing a Grendo team.
Kyron, Chase Brown, Ray Davis, Algier, I don't know how. Khalil Herbert contributed to this team. Chase, Brian. This is a very weird team. Oh, you know who's in this pod with me? Hit him with the gritty and Fareed.
What is Fareed's?
Fareed is
I don't think he's in this one.
Yes, he is. He's Amin
08.
This was his first draft. I know we all randomly got in this together. And then Hit him with the gritty is the other advancing team in this pod. So it's a very poetic pod where it's me and Hit him with the gritty advancing.
These gritty teams are so bad. It's just like it's so funny.
It's outscoring me in this pod right now.
Let me tell you, I would not buy this team for $10.
Yeah, this is a classic case of this team can advance, but it once it makes it to the playoffs, it is a very, very thin path to get the wide receiver points to be the top scoring team in the pod against other super teams, right? Like it needs Jalen Tolbert, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and are there any other wide receivers on this team? Oh, you CeeDee Lamb too, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got 4 wide receivers. Now my team's not that strong a wide receiver either. Chase, Mike Evans, Brian Todd, it's a little bit better, but Samuel and Mike Williams being busts doesn't help the case there.
You got Hopkins though.
And I don't know if it has any other wide receivers. I think I just went running back heavy. It's got Baker. It's advancing because of Baker.
Well, I mean, there are worse things. What can you do? Let's see who else is interesting. Who else is a low owned guy? I wonder if Hunter Lupke. I just saw his name. I wonder if he got drafted at all. There is one Hunter Lupke drafter.
Hero. This guy, One of my best ball picks ever, which didn't pay off in any way, but it was a really good pick, was the year Taysom Hill. We actually, funny enough, did a pod together where I like back in May and talked to you about Taysom.
Taysom Hill with a 14% advance rate at quarterback.
But there was Jeff something. Like he was also a Taysom Hill where he was listed at tight end, but he was the backup quarterback. And I was one of the only people to draft him. And the other thing is like how much best balls changes. Like Deion Jackson, the year that he was JT's backup, like no one drafted him. Like I had like one of like 77 Deion Jackson teams. But like today's market, Deion would be drafted like 5K times because people are like, they react to late news well, you know?
Hey, Drew. Thanks for your click. Thanks for your click, buddy.
You and Drew got chill it out.
He's banned from my channel. He's coming on. He's coming on through you. Let's see. Taysom Hill. Who else is interesting? Who else is a low owned guy?
Let's pull up Jeff Driscoll.
Tillman.
Yeah.
Tillman. Jeff Driscoll. Yeah, the Texans. They converted him.
He did get a quarterback start.
He did. Tillman without Watson. Fuck, that is a hot combo.
Let's look at our Tillman teams because I'm like two of mine are.
I bet I don't have any. Back. Tillman, I have 3, but they all have Watson. Oh, this one's
53 points. That's in the mix. So Brees, Chase, Algier.
Wow, this is a Brown and Moss team. What a cuck. I would not buy this team for myself for $25.
Well, Metcalf returning. Yeah, it's just weak.
No, this
a lot
sucks.
of positions.
Yeah, this team is just bad.
Pull up
the Josh Allen, Dalton Kincaid stack, pretty brutal.
Dalton Kincaid got 10 targets.
Wow, Liam, you've got a hammer here.
Yeah, it's okay. Achan, Walker, Pollard.
No Godwin on this team. You're dead at tight end though.
It's Jonnu Smith at tight end. Why couldn't they have traded Greg Dulcich, man? Like
I know it's so bizarre. It really is incredibly bizarre. Who else? Oh, here we go. Splascon.
Dots on team 28049. So he wants to pull you the team in that place.
28049. Burrow and Chase with Yoshi.
Caleb and Moore, by the way, that is going to be a very interesting playoff combo. Like everyone's leaving them for dead right now, kind of including me, but kind of an interesting. No, not even kind of a super interesting. He's got JT coming back from injury. A unique combo of running backs where like this is,
the Mostert drafter's never taking Dowdle. The Mostert drafter is taking Zeke.
And more so just like JT, Cook, Walker. Like it's not Derrick Henry. It's not Saquon. It's not Kamara. So like all that is a little bit unique. Chase is an advanced rate king.
JSN, Mooney, Downs very strong. I'd like to buy some Downs. Franklin. So everyone's still alive. This is a very good team. This is I'd buy this for $100. This is a good team.
I would not have stacked the Denver wide receivers, but they do play football. So.
I probably did that a couple times. I bet I did. Mims, Franklin together.
When I think the offense is going to be bad, I'm just like, meh.
Mims, Franklin together on 3,676 teams. I wonder if any of them are mine. Nope. All right. Thankfully, I didn't. So there we go.
Someone's asking what Zay Flowers' advance rate is. It's probably not that high just because Derrick Henry was the same cost. He is advancing at 25%. So
advancing 0 Zay Flower teams. Good.
I didn't draft Derrick Henry, but I did draft Flowers. So like that's at least through the
24.9%. Let's see. Let's add that in with Lamar.
Meaning that, why is Flowers thinking through the Henry fade? Because if he has a good game, Henry probably is not. It's also thinking through my slight Mark Andrews fade. I don't know how much I did draft Andrews. Let's see. 4 teams. So yeah, like I didn't draft Andrews and Henry, but at least I drafted Flowers as like this is how I want to play the Ravens offense. Now it turns out everyone's getting there on the Ravens. Even Andrews, who's not been good, he gets there through touchdowns.
I wonder how many combos of this are because they were all kind of in the same round. Dude, that's sick. Only 751 of these combos available.
Well, the Lamar and Flowers is probably way rarer than Lamar and Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
There's 8,000.
Oh, my God. Look at this stack. Lamar, Henry, Flowers, and Andrews and Likely. Holy shit.
Look, there's 8,000 Lamar Flowers teams, and there's 22,000 Lamar Andrews teams, which is just a very clear example, something I've written about a lot, where it's like, why is that the case? It's because Flowers was a 3-4 turn guy, and Andrews and Lamar could be had at the 4-5 turn. And so not enough people forcibly pulled up Lamar just to pair him with Flowers, which you should be doing. And Flowers didn't fall enough to get that rare combo.
Yeah. No, that's true. Not very good in this combo. 10% advance rate of Mostert and A-Chain together. What about, I don't know, what was another hand cucking example?
Charbonnet and Ken Walker.
That one might be okay. Walker and Sharb. I've got a really dusty.
Moss and Brown.
25% advance rate. Moss, this one will be lower. Yeah, 21%. I was going to say Rico and Zeke will be the dustiest one. Rico and Zeke is at, 15%. Pretty bad.
Bijan, Algier.
Chuba and Brooks. That's an interesting one. If people were doing that.
Brooks, yeah, that is interesting. So I'm not a proponent of that, but like,
the Brooks teams are just so dust.
Well, he's returning.
Bijan, and Algier is 16%.
Cook and Ray Davis. It's probably actually advancing pretty nice.
I was gonna say, I bet it's not bad. Yeah, 20%. Flowers,
Saquon,
Harrison,
Tipley.
Puka. Why does that make sense? Flowers.
No, he's just asking about his own team.
Okay, there you go. Ooh, that is Rashad White and Bucky.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of surprising. I would have. I guess
a good real life quarterback, running back, but not a great fan.
And White hasn't not been particularly good either.
No, he's had some good weeks lately. I wonder how my Rashad White teams low key getting some life here. Advancing 2 of them. The biggest problem with Rashad White is that he's not Ken Walker, he's not James Cook, he's not Derrick Henry.
You can do a super chat. We're probably gonna get out of here soon though, because my puppy is crying upstairs. All right. Oh, Liam, we gotta build a pick'em.
By the way, we were doing pretty good at those pick'ems. I nailed it with the Xavier Hutchinson under, Chase Brown touchdown, Tony Pollard touchdown screwed us. We almost won last week though.
You love to see it. We do love to get a win. Oh. All right, Liam. I will let you. Do we have any boosts? No boost.
More Chase, dude. Let's see what the Chase lines are tonight. Double coverage be damned.
Dude, are you fucking brain dead? Do you think it's Thursday? That's like the ninth time you've done
that. Whatever, man.
81.5 receiving yards, 15.25 fantasy points.
That's an additional yards. Jam it. 81.5 over. Higher.
Do you want to do a slider? Do you want to do more yards? 89.5.
Oh, so okay. I've never seen this. So like, how high can you go on these? Can you get some like insane like $10 turns into?
I do Justin Jefferson to 139.5 every week.
No, but can you like how on like the like DraftKings and stuff you see people posting to like $10 to win like $1 million with all these
No, you can only win so much money.
It's capped. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
No, I don't think fuck it, sure. Higher like we should either do the higher than his regular line or touchdown or
Let's do
Sure.
99. Let's get 100-yard game.
Wait, what happens if you do the max and you do lower? What's it give you? Okay, so
You-
you can only do lower on 109.5. I like it.
Yeah. 99.5. Bang. All right, there we go. Well, who does Jefferson play this week? I literally don't even know. Oh, no, they have a nutted game.
No, you should do Zay Flowers on the other side.
They adjust for that. We'll do Justin Jefferson higher at 99.5. But yeah, if we throw Flowers in there, they will adjust us down.
Let's do Aaron. Well, I guess we have Jefferson, so I don't want to do Aaron Jones. Let's do
Correct.
touchdown, even though we're gonna have to like lay an odd here.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have to lay a bunch.
Actually, let's do Hopkins under. Are they gonna give us a Hopkins juice line?
They don't even have him.
Put him in. Are you sure?
They don't have Kareem Hunt. They only give us one. They give us 1.37x for Hopkins.
Okay, lower, no touchdown.
I don't co-sign this. I think this is bad, but that's not the game we're playing. And that'll be a nice hedge for me. He's $5,300 on DraftKings this week. It's yeah. San Francisco versus Tampa Bay.
Kittle, dude, is a smash. They're not
They
getting.
don't have anything. They're not giving us very much of anything. Oh, what is Josh Downs? Josh Downs, 69.5 receiving yards.
I don't co-sign this really either. I mean, JSN is, I think, a good, like, you should look at how he did against Buffalo with no Metcalf. He got 6 for 60, you know?
Six for 60. That's all we need.
I know, but it's just like, it's not the best matchup for wide receivers in general. On the Colts. Like, I think JT is a better play if you're trying to take advantage of the Bills defense.
I just let you take no touchdown for Hopkins.
No, go for it. I mean, go for it. It's just
I'm
just
done.
giving you my color commentary there.
It's in. There you go. All right. It's
okay.
your pick.
Let's see what the Kincaid and Shakir receiving lines are.
Jesus Christ, Liam.
These are good matchups. Just touchdowns we're getting.
Nothing for Shakir.
No, we're not getting anything. But Keon and
because they're questionable.
Are questionable. So, okay, let's go for. We don't have anything on Kittle. Let's do Herbert passing again.
These lines are bad. Yeah, I like that. I like passing touchdowns actually more than the yards, but I'll do either.
I like yards. Let's do yards. Because
okay.
Herbert, like, the good thing about Herbert is he's due to hit, like.
Well, that's the thing is they're number 2 in the NFL in PROE since the bye.
And the Titans have lost a lot of dudes in their secondary.
It's true. All right, let's look at the Jacksonville side against Minnie. Do we have anything on Brian Thomas Jr.? Probably not. Yeah, no. Atlanta, New Orleans. We've got 17.5 rushing attempts for Kamara is pretty appealing. I don't think Jalen McMillan is going to have stuff posted. Let's see
just smash a Darnell Mooney touchdown week in and week out.
Yeah, nothing for McMillan. Detroit against Houston. We don't have touchdowns.
I want to do Zay Flowers receiving over.
Okay, that's fine. Zay Flowers.
That's pretty low.
62.5.
No. If they're going to give you rush and receiving, take the higher. It's the same.
Bang.
Just in case he does get a rushing attempt.
Liam, tell him there's hope. Burrow, Chase, Higgins, Walker.
Bro. There's hope.
That's definitely, like, with players that good, with T. Higgins not playing, I think we're legit. Wow, there we go. See, you can thank Peter. You can thank Peter Overzet, Andrew. That is the kindness of Peter.
So was he not even in the chat when he got that?
I guess he must be subscribed. He must be subscribed to the channel, and they're just giving out randomly.
It should be given to the people in your chat. It's lit, dude.
No, I know, but I honestly did not know how it worked, and apparently that is how it works. Man, I'd love to take a Brees touchdown. We need 2 more. What is it? Oh, Drake May. I don't care.
Yards.
I don't care
Saquon
about
rushing yards.
that. Is Saquon is
Higher.
Can't even scale it.
It's going to be in the hundreds by Sunday. And
Let's
then do May fantasy points.
They're not going to have it yet. Let's do 219 passing yards.
Okay.
Bang.
I like his rushing a little bit more. Like a rushing touch. Or like Caleb unders are appealing too.
Yeah, Drake May to score a rushing touchdown. Now we're fucking cooking. We can max. Well, yeah, we can't even do more than $11.
Share it in here so I can tail.
Bang. Oh, come on. Now we're running good. We're running good. They didn't even make me refresh. They didn't
build such a bad one. They're like, we gotta geolocate this correctly.
Yeah, we need this money right now. Jamar Chase higher 99.5. Jefferson higher 99.5. Hopkins lower. Downs higher 69.5. Herbert 229.5. Flowers 62.5. Rushing plus receiving. Barkley 93.5. May to score a rushing touchdown. I know. Liam did it, dude. Don't talk to me. Liam did it. Not my fault.
Dude, aren't you worried about Pat Surtain?
No, I've literally never been less worried. Yeah. Thank you to Peter Overzet, who did make it rain on the program. Liam, we're getting out of here. I will be back tomorrow.
Yeah, check out Liam Teaches Chess if you want some chess coverage.
Bang. Check out Liam Teaches Chess. Please subscribe.
I'm able to get 4 of these picks. Oh, I think Florida doesn't allow you to do the sliders.
It's probably different for Pick'em Champions versus Pick'em Regular, and I think you have Pick'em Regular. I have Champions.
Florida doesn't allow sports betting. I have Champions.
There you go. So you don't have the spicy sliders.
Whatever. I'll tail it later.
All right, everyone, please subscribe to the Davis Mattek YouTube channel. Please subscribe to Liam's YouTube channel, and we will be back next week. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King Summer.